Gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank Representative Mike Turner, Chairman of the House Armed Services Committee's Strategic Forces Subcommittee, and Representative Trent Franks, co-chair of the Missile Defense Caucus, for their support of this amendment. This amendment prohibits the administration from using funds to share United States classified missile defense information with Russia. It is similar to an amendment which passed with bipartisan support in the House version of the fiscal year 2013 National Defense Authorization Act. In light of recent statements by President Obama that he wanted, quote, more space, end quote, from the Russians in regards to missile defense, and his statement that he would, quote, have more flexibility, end quote, on this issue after the elections, I am concerned, Mr. Speaker, that the United States' critical hit-to-kill and other valuable missile defense technology may become pawns in a political chess game of appeasement with the Russians. Statements by Russian Chief of General Staff Nikolai Makarov have increased my concern. In reference to the United States' desire to strengthen our missile defense sites in Europe, General Makarov threatened the use of military force against the United States, declaring, quote, a decision to use destructive force preemptively will be taken if the situation worsens. Mr. Chairman, if Russia's defense staff is willing to blatantly threaten the United States, why should the United States hand them the keys to technology that gives America's warfighter a decided advantage? The danger to national security is obvious, but there is more to this picture. The Congressional Research Service estimates the United States has spent approximately $153 billion on missile defense. A vast majority, roughly 90%, was spent on hit-to-kill technology. It makes no sense to spend $153 billion of taxpayers' money on advanced weaponry just to give it away. This amendment builds on a letter that had broad bipartisan support in the United States Senate and was signed by 39 senators in April 2011, expressing concern about giving the Russians sensitive missile defense data and technologies. These senators were concerned, as I am, that the White House must not use America's missile defense technologies as a bargaining chip in negotiation with Russia. This amendment helps the United States lead the world in missile defense technologies, preserves investments of billions of dollars, and ensures the viability of current and future missile defense technologies. Mr. Chairman, at this point, I yield 2 minutes to my colleague and good friend, Congressman Turner from the great state of Ohio.
What? The gentleman may yield, but not specific amounts of time. The gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Mr. Chairman, I just want to point out the importance of this amendment and also reiterate that this amendment says that classified information about our missile defense system should not be allowed to be provided to the Russians. We have two areas of concern. Obviously, one, Iran and their growing ICBM threat to the United States. I previously wrote a letter with Chairman McKeon to Secretary Panetta asking about specific information for the rising ICBM with Iran. I'd like this to be included in the record. And the second aspect is that we're all aware that the President is currently in negotiations on a secret deal with the Russians. We saw that in the open mic discussion that the President was having with Medvedev in South Korea, where he said he wanted greater flexibility till after the election. Some of that flexibility should not be disclosing classified information concerning our missile defense system to the Russians. This amendment would say, Mr. President, you won't tell us what your secret deal is, but that secret deal better not include sharing classified information of the United States with the Russians about our missile defense. And I also want to enter into the record May 23, 2012 letter that I had sent to the President asking him to disclose the terms of this secret deal. Mr. Brooks' amendment is very important because it says, Mr. President, even though you won't tell us what the secret deal is, we will not allow you to exchange classified information and weaken the security of the United States. I yield back to Mr. Brooks.
I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. What purpose does the gentleman from Florida rise?
Mr. Chairman, I rise to strike the last word.
Gentleman's recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, this actually may be the most critical amendment that we will consider on this bill today. There should be no secret deals on our missile defense with the Russian president or any other person not involved with the security of our own nation. This amendment precludes that. Mr. Brooks has pointed it out extremely well, and Mr. Turner has certainly made a very strong case. But let me add, our national defense interests have got to be our interests, not somebody else's. Our national defense investments must be made based on what is the threat to our nation. And dealing with missile defense especially, the Iranians have just shown a mass arsenal of missiles, short range, medium range, and some long range capability. Now, those missiles would have the ability to target our troops wherever they might be in the region, in the Persian Gulf region. They could even reach to Israel, one of our very best partners and coalition. We just can't let this happen. We can't let anyone make a secret deal with a Russian president on missile defense. The threat is too great. The threat is growing, not only from Iran, but from North Korea. The North Koreans have invested a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of technology in developing their missiles. And I don't suspect that they are for peaceful purposes. And we have to be always on guard that we protect Americans and our interests and our troops, wherever they might be, from hostile attacks by somebody's missiles. So this is a critical amendment, and it is important that we have a very large vote and send the message we are not going to toy with the defense of our nation, especially missile defense. I yield back.
Yields back. What purpose does the gentleman from Washington rise?
I rise to strike the requisite number of words.
Gentleman's recognized for 5 minutes.
And, frankly, we don't have any problem with this amendment. I would be very surprised if the administration would give any classified information to the Russian government. Now, maybe the gentleman knows something that I don't know, but and I understand that there was an inadvertent comment that, suggesting that after the election there might be a better opportunity to work between the two governments. Those things are said at times. But I have no personal information that anyone is saying that we're going to give them this information. So I personally think it would be a mistake to give it to them unless it was declassified so the American people would know what the information was. But in this case, just to be sure, I'm willing to go along with the gentleman's amendment, and we have to be very careful here with classified information. There's no question about that. And there's been some concern expressed about classified information being released to the public, which is, is another questionable activity. But I yield back my time and will support the gentleman's amendment.
Gentleman yields back. The question is The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Alabama. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. For what purpose does the